my knees, shaking on my thigh. Post me a pic, finna make me a profit. When the liquor hit, then the get tight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Madwoman podcast. I am Olivia, and I have Kira here with me. Say hi to the people.
Hello.
Say hi to the mad people.
Hello.
Woo. We are so excited to be here again. Like, Kira and I were talking. We feel so fulfilled after having these conversations. Like, I don't know if it's just the energy that we get out going off of each other or what it is, but
Such a great part of my week.
it's the highlight of my week, and really hope that you guys experience the same joy listening that we get talking, because we're pretending like you're here with us as we're talking, you know? So it's great. How was your weekend, Kira?
Really great. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
I was in LA yesterday dancing with my family. It was also my cousin's birthday.
You had an audition yesterday.
I did have an audition yesterday.
How did it go?
Marvelous. It was for a cruise line. There was 9 of us that made it through out of about 50 of us. So that was kind of a big deal. Thanks.
That's my girl.
And we'll see. I just wait for the next 6 months of my life for a phone call.
I can't believe you just have to wait.
Yeah.
I want you to just get the call tomorrow
I wish I could read a book about my life because I want to know.
and just know.
I just
But
wanna
then
know.
where would the fun be in that?
I'm okay. I'm okay if it gets taken away, if the fun is taken away, because I want to know.
You just want to know. Okay. Well, I want you to know too, selfishly, obviously, I wish you would stay with me and Madhouse forever.
I will always
but
come back to Madhouse. I promise you that.
I want you to follow your dreams.
If I
okay?
leave, it will only be for about 6 months, and I'll come back. And then I'm
Noted.
yours forever.
Forever?
Yeah.
Forever, ever?
And
Guys,
ever,
what would
ever?
the Madwoman podcast be if Kira has to leave us?
It's okay. I feel like I'm a third of it, and you're the majority, so you
No.
can handle it.
Absolutely not. 50-50, baby. 50-50. Well, I'm glad you had a good weekend. I'm glad the audition went well.
Thank you. How was your weekend, Miss Mexico lady?
Yeah, me and Kelly, who also works at Madhouse, we went to Mexico into the wine area, the wine valley, and then also Ensenada to surf for a little bit. It was super rejuvenating, very fun, and honestly romantic with the two of us, which is hilarious because obviously purely platonic. Love that girl. She's my freaking soul sister. But like, we were in this romantic Airbnb. We got in and there's like 2 glasses of wine just like on the bed. We're like, let's go, romantic getaway for 2. No, it was perfect. I was talking a lot about my friends recently about like romanticizing friendship and romanticizing. We were talking about this last episode, romanticizing all the little things in life. And I just feel like I'm really living by that. And romanticizing everything that I can. So like being in the valley, drinking the most delicious wine and the most serene environment, just like in the middle of a vineyard.
Who take you surfing.
Meeting locals that take us surfing and show us the good spots to go. Like the whole thing just worked out perfectly as it should. Like we kind of didn't really plan that much. We just went and let the world take us where it wanted to take us. It was magic.
You put in so much time and energy into Madhouse. I love knowing that you go get your good break and you feel good after that.
I need it. Like I feel so much better after that. And I can't believe that I did a solid 1.5 years of Madhouse without any breaks like that. Like
I still don't know how you did that.
I just was like nose to the grindstone. Is that a phrase?
Nose to the grindstone?
The grindstone. What is that phrase? Someone's got to know. Someone's listening right now and is like, I know what she's trying to say.
I think you just put together 2 phrases.
Am I mixing metaphors here?
I'm pretty sure the gravestone is one and the nose.
Let me just bring in a new one. My head was just down. I was working really hard. Right? That makes
That
sense.
wasn't really an analogy though. You were just saying your head was down and
whatever. I was working really hard, and you get my point. Okay.
Got it.
I think nose to the grindstone might be an actual phrase.
I'll Google it.
Google it. Get back to me on that. But yeah, I was just 7 days a week at Madhouse. I didn't feel like I had the right to leave. Like it was my baby, and I felt like it would almost be cheating if I had somebody else there. Are you getting anything? Please hold. What?
It has nothing to do with working hard. This is talking about when you smell something burning.
Oh, well, I can
there's
assure you
different
I did
things.
not smell anything burning.
There's different things because see, another one says stay hard at work.
Yes. Stay
But
hard
then
at
this
work.
one says smell anything burning.
Okay, well, we're going to use
Whatever.
the stay hard at work one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I just felt like I would be cheating if I left Madhouse and didn't and wasn't there 24/7. Like the idea that something I created could be making money when I wasn't there and could succeed when I wasn't there. I just felt like that would just be like cheating at life for a long time. And I felt like people would think that I was not taking it seriously enough or not grateful enough or whatever. And nobody would ever think that. Nobody. So yeah, it was my New Year's resolution this year to take more vacation and travel. And I've definitely done that. I think I've gone on like 4 or 5 trips, like one big one and then other little tiny ones. And everyone is so understanding and so supportive.
We're gonna help you. You have a wonderful team.
The team and also the clients. I think that was another big fear. Like I was afraid of what the Madwoman would think if I was like not teaching my normal classes, or if they would be mad or like want to cancel their memberships because I'm like traveling now like once a month or so. And of course they're not going to think that. God. And if anyone
Everybody
did,
is
they
human,
probably,
including you.
I know. So yeah, it was a beautiful weekend. And actually it kind of loops into what I want to talk about today, because the Thursday night before leaving, I did a meditation, and I really feel like I finally sort of healed. Obviously, it's still a work in progress, but I have made huge progress on my perfectionistic tendencies. And so today I want to talk a lot about perfectionism and also the power of cringe, which I love the word cringe because I feel like there's no better way to describe that feeling that you get when something's like a little bit like, oh, that wasn't like the most like cool thing I've ever done, or I'm not the most proud of that time in my life, or whatever it is. Like, ooh, that's embarrassing that I did that. But like that encompasses the emotion so well, the word cringe. But it's so important for self-growth, and I just think that everyone should do things that are cringy. So we'll talk about that more as well. But first, I want to, dive deeper into perfectionism. I want to hear if you have any experience with perfectionism as well. I know not as much as me. You've helped me heal a lot from my perfectionism. But we can kind of just chat about that. So first I want to talk a little bit about perfectionism itself. Like, I feel like I grew up in a very interesting way where my parents were not like putting this pressure on me. I feel like a lot of perfectionists get it from their parents and like the expectation that you must perform and succeed to like be a good person or be successful in this world. Like you need to get straight A's on everything, like just perfection in every way. And a lot of the perfectionists that I know have had that put on them by their parents. And my parents definitely wanted me to succeed and do well in life, but they by no means were like a toxic sort of like, my love is conditional on your success by any means, right? Like they were not like that. They gave me unconditional love. Like honestly, once they saw how perfectionistic I was, they were like, Olivia, aim for a C, and you're still gonna get an A or an A minus. Like they were trying to get me to let things go. I remember in 6th grade, I was doing this vocabulary homework assignment. Literally, this is ingrained in my mind. And it was like a chart of vocabulary words. And there was the word, the definition, use it in a sentence, and draw a picture. And I am not an artist, okay? But the column that said draw a picture said, do your best work. And I took that to heart. And I sat there for 3 hours with those tiny little picture boxes using colored pencils, drawing little works of art because it said, do your best work. And I took that to heart. Meanwhile, my brother's doing the same sheet and like a couple years later and just drawing stick figures and moving on in like 2 seconds. Like obviously that is fine for that type of assignment, but I just didn't understand that I didn't need to do that. And also, I also fully thought that middle school grades mattered for like getting into college and all of that. So literally 6th grade, I would spend probably 5 or 6 hours doing my homework every night. Yeah, I'm not even joking.
Why did you even have homework that could allow you to do 5 or 6 hours of it?
Well, I do think I extended it quite a bit because I was doing my best work, quote unquote. I think I unnecessarily dragged it out. And like I said, I literally had to do every single thing perfect. Okay?
Absolutely not.
I know. I also remember in 1st grade, we were doing these like counting number scrolls, and you literally in each box just wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to, we got into like the thousands. Me and this one other kid in my class named Brian, and we were fighting for first place. Okay, we were fighting for first place.
Remembering his name.
Oh, Brian Graham. I remember him. Brian, if you're still out there, I'm still bitter about it because he won. He won and I got second place. And I honestly, that could be the root of all of my problems.
Damn, Brian.
Damn, Brian, you caused me to be a perfectionist. Yeah, I don't remember. Like, I don't know where this came from. Like, this need to be the absolute most perfect human on the planet. Because like I said, it didn't really come from my parents. So in my adult life, I've spent a lot of time trying to like go back and figure out where that came from. Like, what can I do to sort of heal that part of myself and let myself know that it's okay. I don't have to be perfect. Not only do I not have to be perfect, I am not perfect and will never be perfect. And that is actually the realization that occurred to me this weekend that sounds really simple. I feel like for the last few years, I've told myself like, I don't have to be perfect. This weekend in that meditation, something shifted and I shifted the language from I don't have to be perfect to no, I am not perfect. Like, because when I said I don't have to be perfect, I feel like there was still a small part of me that was like,
that was reaching
but like,
for it.
maybe I can be. Like, I don't have to be, but like, I probably could be. And it was like just the flat out acceptance of like, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
that I don't think I've ever truly accepted. And so that was huge for me. And honestly, since I had that realization, I have felt super at ease and like very peaceful. It also could just be because I went on vacation too, I guess. But like literally just like everything just feels so good in my body now. Like I think that's a really powerful thing about meditation too, is like the physical effect that it can have on you as well as mental. Like I just feel super aligned with who I am right now. And yeah, I don't know, just crazy. But I also think part of like the whole perfectionism conversation as well is the glamorization of it too, because I don't know about you, but when I was, in college or high school talking about like job interviews, a lot of times in job interviews, it would be like, list your strengths and list a con or whatever. And cons were always like, I'm a perfectionist, like that's my con, but it's actually a good thing because I work really hard. Yeah. And
they always told you if you're going to write a con that you need to make sure you can make it a positive thing. And I'm
yes.
No.
That's just not being honest.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. That's why I don't ask those type of questions in job interviews at all, because they're just like super bizarre and just prepped and not authentic and whatever. But yeah, I feel like even for myself, I think that that's something that I dealt with a lot. Like I said, I was like, I don't have to be perfect, but like I can get closer. I can still try to get there. And it's like glamorizing this idea of being all these things that you can work on yourself and you can, work for the things that you want, but like you are never going to be perfect.
All you can do is be the best version of yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Do not try to be perfect.
Exactly. And honestly, the most like impactful life event that I've gone through that has helped me release this perfectionism. Brian Graham. Wonder what he's up to these days. No, he's the one that started it, okay?
He was the most impactful.
No, but actually, I was even able to trace it back to an earlier memory of what I think actually started it and why I think I finally was able to like unlock and release this sort of like perfectionism belief. Is what I'm saying like really woo-woo sounding and crazy sounding or no?
No.
Because I know I mentioned in the last episode, I do this thing called To Be Magnetic, and I do a lot of their like meditations basically that are guided. So you're like going in and talking to your inner child, like bringing up memories and all that stuff. So that might sound a little bit crazy, but that's just to give you some context into kind of how I'm doing these meditations and realizing these things, just to give you guys listening a little more context as to like why these things are coming up or why I'm, bringing up these memories. But I was able to remember this thing that happened in kindergarten that had never been in my conscious mind until now. But somehow you're able to go back and like bring up these memories that you didn't even know you had. And I remembered like being in kindergarten and we had this chart that was like happy face for the good kids on the good list, frowny face if you were on the bad list for that day in kindergarten, like you did something, you got in trouble, whatever. And I remember one day I got put on the bad list for like going into a playground area when I wasn't allowed to and when I shouldn't have or something. And bad, right? And I physically could feel and remember the absolute shame and pain that I felt as a little 5-year-old, because I interpreted that as I'm now a bad person. And I realized, I'm literally like getting emotional talking about it right now, because the feelings were so intense when I was in this meditation too. And I think that's also part of the reason this work is really healing, is like I realized, oh my God, that is like the root of where all this came from. Like I didn't ever want to feel that shame or pain again. I didn't want to be a bad person. I want to be a good person. And so that was like programmed into my mind that if I do one bad thing, I'm a bad person, or if I mess up, I'm a bad person. And so I think that's genuinely, I think that's where it all started. Like, because like I said, my parents didn't put it in me. I couldn't think of what did. Brian Graham was my closest guess, but I don't think it was Brian. I think it was 1 year before Brian. Okay.
There could be many things too that add up to it that just
totally. But like, yeah, I really feel like that was a key thing. And so what I did was I just like took the version of myself now and went in and like hugged that little version of myself and was like, you don't have to be, or not, you don't have to be perfect. You are not perfect.
Good.
And I was like, should we yell at the teacher? And she was like, yeah. And like me and my little inner child version of myself in this meditation were like, I'm not perfect, yelling at the teacher.
That's iconic. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. So that work has been really healing for this. But also what has been healing is the development of Madhouse. And basically starting this business that, as you know, has been so near and dear to my heart. It is literally my baby. It's an extension of myself, so much so that whenever I felt like something went wrong or I received negative feedback, or not even negative feedback, but like just constructive feedback, it was like a personal attack on me. Like if it's not perfect, I'm not perfect. And that can't be, because I need to be perfect.
Differentiating between the two.
Yes.
At the beginning.
Exactly. And you were like witness to that firsthand. Like I'm trying to think of
even
a specific example.
I can think of examples. I want to say around when we were starting the video shoots. Oh, there's a couple examples coming to me. One, like when I started teaching heels classes, or I came to you saying like, what are your thoughts on me teaching heels class? And we just kind of talked about it, and I forget exactly what you said, but your first reaction was, are we gonna like that? Or I don't know, negative things. It wasn't a positive response from you, not to me, but like in your own body. You were like, I'm scared of people backlashing on me, or they're not gonna like it. We're a cardio studio, we're open for beginners. What if they think heels is too hard? Yada, yada, yada. And I wanted to just shake you and be like, you're fine. And like, you're always gonna have people who aren't gonna like things. And then there's gonna be people who absolutely love it, which is a community that we found. And obviously Madhouse is so special and beautiful. That's an example. There's probably so many. There are multiple instances where I want to just grab you and shake you and tell you to stop doubting yourself.
No, totally. Absolutely. I also think it's just, not wanting to mess up so badly and wanting to
you were so afraid of failure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that once I started...
rightfully so. So you started a huge business, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, I do think there's part of me that just like, wants to proceed with caution on things. But then there's also the element of, okay, if you try it and it doesn't work out, then who cares? You know, like there was like, that risk is actually so low, but in my mind, it was so high at the time. And I do think now I have a much more balanced perception of that. Like I definitely am willing to try and fail at things. And I have full faith and confidence that whatever sticks is meant to stick, and whatever doesn't stick isn't meant to, but you can't not try. And that's the thing, actually, I will always say, I was able to push past the perfectionism in almost every situation. Even though it was really hard for me, I knew it was a problem, and I was able to see past it, even though it wasn't second nature. Now it's second nature to just let things go, right? And be like, not perfect, not gonna be. But it was more of an active exercise and challenge to do that. But I do think I did it in certain ways. Like when I did receive constructive feedback, like it hurt. like a bitch. Like it literally felt like a knife stabbing my chest. But I was like, this is good. We can take this. We can work with it. You're getting it for a reason. Like working through it, like it hurt, but I knew it was important and I needed to work through it. Now, it just doesn't hurt as much. You know what I mean? Still hurts a little sometimes. But we're working on it. But no, like now I'm used to, you know, getting a comment from someone and being like, yeah, you know, it's just not everyone's thing.
You take it with a grain of salt, depending
Totally.
on what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if it's like constructive and helpful and super kind and you can tell that it's just someone that genuinely cares, it's like amazing. Thank you so much. I will take this and work on it. If it's like, you can just tell it's like a projection of someone's own issues with themselves, or maybe just Madhouse isn't their thing. Like they're like, it was, you know, too easy and not enough complicated choreo. Like, okay, that's just not what Madhouse is, you know, like we don't need to take that feedback. But yeah, being able to distinguish between helpful feedback and not so helpful feedback has been like really important. Are there any other examples you can think of?
Oh my gosh. Probably I'd have to like ponder.
It's okay. Do you have any like you don't have many perfectionistic tendencies, do you?
I have a very type A personality. And I'm very, growing up in the dance world, like I'm very, very specific. And I hate being late. That's what I think of when like being a perfectionist. Mine, I was okay. Same, my parents, I have a very healthy relationship with my parents, unconditional love. Nothing ever came from them that way. I didn't need to go to college if I didn't want to. I did though. I was always a straight A student. It was never even an option for me not to be a straight A student because I just didn't have B's.
Yeah.
But if I did have a B, it would have been fine. That's a lie. I had one B, actually.
You liar.
It was honors biology sophomore year, and it was a B+, and the cutoff was 89.5 was an A-. I had an 89.4.
Oh, that's rough.
I thought about that for
It's okay, you're not perfect.
many years after that. Yeah, but my report card was all A's and I had one B. Like, I just wanted to do it. Kidding, it's fine. In the dance world, a lot of people are perfectionists, and I feel like when it came to dance and myself, I definitely wanted to be a perfectionist. You spend so many weekends in dance competitions, at conventions, just being judged half of my childhood from people who don't know me, so it doesn't affect me as much as if it came from my mom or my dance teachers, etc. So there were definitely times growing up that I would look at other people. I feel like it was not as much as me being a perfectionist. It was more so me comparing myself to other dancers, which would cause me being a perfectionist. But I wouldn't identify with that word. It just isn't. I identify with saying I have a type A personality. I just was very specific and I wanted things done my way. And looking at other dancers there's just a fine line in the dance world, because there's dancers who could fling their leg over their head, do a million turns. I'm talented. I can dance, but I can't be spinning and whipping like dance moms or things like that. And I didn't care to do that. So it was a weird divide in my brain of, oh, I'm never going to be like that. And it bothers me, but then also that's okay. I'm not going to look like that. My body isn't like theirs. My hips are not made like theirs. I'm not flexible the way they are. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, you definitely don't strike me as a perfectionist, because even just your ability to be like, I was receiving feedback but they weren't even people that know me. Like that distinction of the feedback only matters when it's people that you care about or that actually mean something or know you as a person. Like that you weren't able to let, this sort of anonymous feedback like get to you. Because I think that's what it ultimately comes down to, especially in my more recent life, again with Madhouse, is just feedback from people and being able to separate what you're getting feedback on from yourself and your worth as a human being. Like, I think that I was so closely associating myself with Madhouse and just with all aspects of my life, and that all of it had to be perfect or else I just wasn't good enough and I wasn't worthy enough and I wasn't all these things. So if one thing outside of myself, one of these external factors like Madhouse, like relationships, like school, like whatever was off, that means I'm off as a person. That means there's something wrong with me. And being able to detach from those items and be like, okay, these are all important facets of my life, and I can work hard on them. I can strive to achieve certain things with them, but they are not a reflection of my worth as a human being, has been the most important distinction. And I feel like you just inherently know that. And this is another example of why I am so in awe by you all the time, because Kira is like 3.5 years younger than me. And I just feel like she's so wise beyond her years and like gives me so much inspiration in so many areas of life. And I just think it's so cool.
You're so sweet. I do have something to say. When you said something about self-worth.
Yeah.
Could go hand in hand with perfectionism. But for me, something that I struggled with a lot, like my freshman and sophomore year of college, before right around like into COVID. I've said this before, like it's always been me and dance. It's always been together. I don't ever separate it. But at one point in my life, it did seem very separate. Like I just wasn't dancing as much as I wanted to be. And that affected my self-worth. I felt empty and lost without dance. And I didn't feel just negative things going through my brain. Like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't even remember exactly what went through my brain at this time. But the self-worth to me was a big thing for me. That's when all the what am I even trying to say? Affirmations and doing breath work, that came into me a lot because I wanted to be dancing every day. That's what I wanted to be doing now, which I'm almost doing now. But in college, it's really big jumping from competition dancing and dancing 4 to 5 hours a night, every night after school, and then going to college dance and juggling business classes I didn't care about, and GE classes I didn't care about, and then taking 1 hour-and-a-half ballet class and 1 modern class and no jazz or hip hop. Granted, depending on what school you went to, but that was my school.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't getting what I needed. And I knew that, but I also, things are coming to my brain.
She's had a realization.
Things are coming to my brain. Okay, a really big thing with my self-worth. So deciding where I wanted to go to school, I got into the two that I was choosing between were San Diego State and Florida State. Florida State University has a very good dance program. And I questioned if I was going to get into it. And I got into it and I got a scholarship. I don't have any family there. Nobody's there. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I used to live in San Diego. All my family's here. I love the beach. I wanted to come to San Diego State. But part of me regretted not choosing Florida State because I came to San Diego State and I just felt so distant from dance and so far apart. And I was so down in the dumps on how I thought about myself. And it was almost as if I lost trust in myself because I thought that I made the wrong decision going to San Diego State over Florida State. Like I should have chosen FSU. I should have chosen dance, but I chose other things. And I was so negative about that entire situation for a very long time, probably until COVID. And then they always say when you move somewhere, you have to give it, what is it, like a minimum of 2 years before you start feeling a little bit more settled.
That makes sense.
In the first 2 years in San Diego, even though I did live here as a kid and I had family here, I was just so unhappy. And then the perfectionism came in because I thought that I could have been doing better or that I should have been doing better. I would have been doing better if I was in Florida, even though that's not how life goes. I mean, you can choose many different paths. You just have to stick with it and you're going to be fine either way. There's many trajectories that your life could go to. So great. That was my tangent on self-worth.
No, I love that. Like, I also like that you said you lost trust in yourself. I think that's a really important note there, and something that also goes into kind of what I wanted to talk about next is like trusting the process. And it sounds like you didn't really trust the process there.
And looking back on it now, I would not change anything. I am so happy I chose SDSU. I've gotten, and specifically when I look at my dance career, I would not have the dance career I have now if I went to FSU. I went to Bora Bora for dance. I joined Siren's dance team. I danced at Mavericks at their birthday. I found Madhouse. There's so many things here that I would literally never change for anything in the world. But years ago, I was crying my eyes out over this.
It's so crazy to realize that about any element of your life. Like your whole life would be different. Like one little decision we make and
Changes
you know, we can be
everything.
feeling negative about it for a certain amount of time. Like whether you're going through a breakup, whether you're worried you chose the wrong school, the wrong career, whatever it is. Like if you want to change it obviously, but know that that is a part of your journey and there's no need to regret anything. There's no need to like wish you did something differently. Like I said, if you can change something and you want to, go for it. But there's no point in like beating yourself up and being negative about anything. And again, my most recent example is just like in my breakup, like trusting that this is for the best and that like it's not what I chose. So it was like pretty hard for the first few months to like process that. But now realizing like, oh my gosh, all these amazing things that I've already done like 3-4 months later would not have happened if I were still with this person. And like down to the little things, like I wouldn't have gone on that Mexico vacation. I wouldn't have had that same experience, all the way to we started this podcast. Like this has happened in the time since, looking for a second studio space, all these things that who knows where they would be at if I wasn't on the specific path I'm on right now, you know? And like the growth that you're meant to do from certain hardships or certain negative feelings, like has never been more clear to me now, or never been more clear to me than it is now.
I have something to say, kind of going towards perfectionism. One thing with me, talking about the future and where your life goes, since I was 9 years old, you could ask me what my dream was and I was able to write it down. I've always wanted to be a Radio City Rockette.
Wow.
And then like growing up, I wanted to be on a professional sports team. Check, I've done that. And I wanted to dance on a cruise ship, which I'm hopefully doing. Being a Rockette, I feel like my dreams are slightly changing because I love my life here so much and I can't imagine leaving this life. But I talk about it, it comes up in therapy every time I go because I feel like I'm betraying a part of me by switching my dreams, by changing my dreams. And everybody keeps reminding me that it's okay to change your dreams. But to me, it's like, no, like I had this dream since I was 9. Like, how can I tell little me that that's not going to happen? Like I need to be perfect. I need to check these things
Maybe
off.
You are a little perfectionist.
So it comes to me differently than it comes to you, but there are definitely parts of my life that, I'm like, how am I, what do you mean, Big Kira, your dream is changing? Like, this has been what I've thought about since I was a little girl, but now I'm like, I don't know if I would be fulfilled doing that. Maybe I would, but am so fulfilled here in San Diego with my life, and I literally cannot imagine leaving it. So how am I supposed to find new dreams and a different trajectory of my life when I always thought that it was just one thing?
Isn't that so interesting that your perfectionism comes up in that situation where you're like, I can't change my dreams. This is what I've had my sight set on. Like, there's no flexibility here. This is rigid. This is like set in stone what I want to do. And I'm glad that you're realizing that you don't need to be set in stone anymore. But that for me is not an issue of mine as far as like perfectionism goes. Like, I have always been very much like flexible on those things, and like maybe it's just because you found your passion really young, and I think that it took me more time to get there, but yeah, that's so interesting that it comes up in that way for you.
Another thing that this makes me think, definitely perfectionism. I am very specific about my planner. If it's not written in my planner, it's not going to happen. If you text me like, oh, you want to hang out after work, if I don't write it down, we don't like make set plans, you text me day of and I'm like, oh, sorry. I got other things to do. But say I have my day planned out on my planner and something happens, like my car breaks down. That's excessive. Usually your car doesn't break down, but say, I don't know, I'll go with the car. Say my car broke down. I would get so much stress and anxiety because it's teetering the way that my day was supposed to go, that my planner says it's supposed to go. And I think that goes back to type A personality. Like it affects me physically and mentally and emotionally, and I hate it. It is probably, I shouldn't say I hate it. Well, I'm going to say the sentence. It is what I don't like about myself, but we're supposed to love all parts of ourselves. But that part is a really
Well, you recognize something that you want to work on.
And I try to, and it's hard for me to.
Kira, I think we're uncovering some things. Because we started this podcast saying you're not a perfectionist, and now I'm sitting across from you like, you sure about that?
I knew it was there. I just had to find the examples.
Yeah.
It wasn't coming to me right away. Yes. So
it's interesting because it's in a different way than me. So
100%.
I think that's why it wasn't coming to you right away, is that like they're two different versions of perfectionism or different facets of it. So yeah, that's really interesting. Are you doing anything actively to kind of like let those things go, or how are you working on it?
I just, when I catch myself immediately when I get irritated, or even, I wish I could think of an example right now.
No, but that's good. Just
I
like
have an
watching
example.
it and like being like, oh, I see this in myself. I'm going to like,
I have an
let
example.
it go.
I don't even like want to say it because it makes me feel like a bad person. My mom texted me, our childhood dog, Sophie. My mom and my dad are going on a trip with like my aunt and uncle in October. And she texted me, I'm going to front this that I'm not really an animal person. Well, I mean, I love animals, but like, I don't want to take care of one right now. I don't want to take care of anything else that is not me, or like maybe a plant.
Valid.
Okay? And I know that about myself, and I'm very particular about how my days go, like I just said, my planner. And my mom texted me, can you watch Sophie for a week while we're out of town? And my gut reaction was like, absolutely not. Like, I am not taking care of a dog. Granted, she originally wanted me to drive to La Mesa to stay at my grandma's. And I was like, no, no. And it angered me. And I knew that in that moment, I didn't respond to her right away because I knew that I would respond by saying no. But like, she's my mom. Like, I'll do anything for you. You've done so much for me. But I just want my automatic response to just be yes. Like, you're fine, Kira. Your schedule's going to be fine. She's kind of an old dog. She doesn't do much. I can't take her on walks right now because she's old. She lays down. I just have to feed her. I won't be able to sleep at my boyfriend's house that week, but like, it's not the end of the world. Like, I'm going to be fine. But in that moment, it feels so overbearing and overwhelming, and I hated it. And then I responded to her and I talked to her about it, and Sophie's going to stay in my apartment.
Okay.
Which makes me feel better.
Problem solved.
But yeah, so moments like that I'm like, it's that my gut reaction is it affects my regular schedule, and I'm going to have to change my week, that entire week, from what I usually do, centered around a dog that I don't want to take care of.
Yeah. Well, I think there's no shame in that initial reaction. Like, and I feel bad
for it.
Don't feel bad for it. I mean, like, if I get it, I understand what you mean. Like, you want your initial reaction to be like, yes, absolutely. Like, you want to be that type of person, but maybe you know that you're not, but you know yourself well enough to be like, let me take a moment to pause on this before I respond and say something that I don't actually want to say.
Yeah, I don't want it to come off like being ungrateful. Oh, so that was what the question you asked, like, what do I do when I get like that?
Yeah.
Is I pause and I'll breathe, and I just won't, I will like put my phone down, because it usually happens like someone texts me in, or I have to do something that I don't want to do, or car breakdown, whatever the case. And I'll put my phone away. I'll take some deep breaths.
And I think the key words that you use too there are, it's not the end of the world. Like, that is so helpful to know. Whatever type of perfectionism you struggle with, it's not the end of the world. Not only is it not the end of the world, it's not the end of anything. Like, it is purely just one thing, one problem. Like, there are really no problems unless you make them problems, right? So like, even if something super upsetting happens, like I said, like a breakup, like, you know, you have a loss in the like whatever it is, like they are not pleasant, they're not great, but they're happening, and you have to move through them. And it's not the end of the world, it's not the end of your world, it's not the end of the life. Like, you are just on a big floating rock in the middle of space. You're a little speck. I like to like look out at the ocean or look up at the stars whenever I'm feeling like I need like a little bit of perspective, and just be like, short time on this life. There's not much.
I like being reminded how small we are.
Yeah, me too. There's something like very comforting about it. It's like very disturbing, but also comforting.
Yes.
Go look at the stars, everyone. Go look at the stars. If it's nighttime, if it's daytime, go look at the ocean, or just look at the sky. That will help.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, well, next I want to talk about the power of cringe. And the reason I think these two are related is because cringe is not perfect, okay? There's definitely like because I struggle with perfectionism, I look back at the cringy things that I've done and like literally have a visceral reaction. Like I'm like that's literally what cringe is. Like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I never did that, you know, stuff like that. And just taking a breath and relaxing into it and being like, that was a critical step in developing who I am as a person. Now, Kira and I have already talked about this. She's not nearly as embarrassing as I am. So this is pretty much just going to be 20 minutes of me just telling you all the embarrassing shit that I've done and Kira sitting across from me laughing at me. I'm also older than Kira. And I think that Kira is lucky in the sense that she has known her passion from a very young age, like we just talked about. I think a lot of the times where cringe comes in is people that are trying to discover themselves, discover their passion, grow themselves, work on certain parts of themselves. And to do that, you need to try on new things. You need to try new things. You need to do new things. You need to let go of those perfectionistic tendencies. You need to be able to make mistakes without it destroying you. You need to be able to do some embarrassing things without it destroying you. And like, they're just really good exercises to grow yourself, grow your self-worth, and know that none of these external factors are going to affect who I am as a person. And just because I do something that's slightly embarrassing looking back on it doesn't mean that I'm any less of a person or whatever it is. So shall I just get into it?
Yeah. Just read off all your embarrassing things that you've done.
Yeah. Well, first we'll start. This is not embarrassing, but it's something that felt pretty low in the moment. And maybe it's kind of similar to you choosing SDSU and not being certain about that compared to if you had chosen Florida State. For me, I went to college. I got a business degree. I studied entrepreneurship and marketing. Out of college, I got this really awesome sales job on paper, like a super cool company that was very modern, very just a sick company, honestly. Like it was just like worked in a cool office. I was remote doing sales. I had a super cool boss that like dressed all boho, and she's amazing. She actually comes to Madhouse now.
Really?
Yes. She like gave me my first shot in my career. Obviously, like I had the interview with her and she hired me, and that was like life-changing to know that I could do that. But I was miserable in that job after 9 months, not because of anyone or the company, just because sales was not my thing. Like this also goes back into the perfectionistic tendencies. Part of sales is you get no a lot, right? Like you get the word no thrown at you, you get denied, you get doors shoved in your face, you get hung up on the phone. Like people don't want to talk to you. And I was too sensitive at the time. I had not worked through a lot of the stuff that I've since worked through. And every no that I received, again, was a personal attack on me. And every no that I got was a failure of me and myself. You're laughing.
God, that sounds awful.
It was awful. So can you blame me for quitting after 9 months when every time I heard the word no, which happens a lot during sales, mind you, I was like gutted by it. Absolutely gutted. Like I couldn't take it. I felt like I wasn't doing a good enough job. Even though my bosses wouldn't have told you that, like they didn't fire me. They were happy with what I was doing. Like I just quit because emotionally I couldn't take it. I couldn't handle it. And so that was a lot to do with me, and also just the fact that sales wasn't my thing at the time. I think obviously I do like a little bit of sales now, just owning my own business, but the difference is that people come to me instead of me going to them, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm not doing cold calls or whatever. It's people that want to dance that come to Madhouse. So different type of sales. But I quit that job and didn't have any other job lined up. This was me purely just jumping off a cliff and hoping that something, whatever was meant to come into place would. But I just knew I couldn't do it for another day. And so I quit. And then I got a restaurant job. I was a host at True Food in LA. So I had not met Kira yet. This is not the True Food that we met at. But I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't have any other jobs lined up. I'm going to go work in a restaurant. But I didn't have server experience yet. I had only ever hosted the summer after high school. So I had to host. So I literally after getting a business degree, after having this perfect sales job on paper, I had to go back to a host job that I had when I was 17 right out of high school. And again, there's nothing wrong with this. For me, it was just super upsetting because I felt like I had made so much progress in my career.
You felt like you were going back.
I felt like I was going backwards, exactly. And that was like really hard for me to reconcile in my mind. Like, how could I have done this? Like, I had this perfect job on paper, like, but I just knew like this is a part of the journey. Like, I have to just trust the process. And part of the reason I also went into restaurants was I was like, maybe I want to start my own vegan restaurant one day. I was like fully like, maybe I knew I wanted to start a business, and I thought maybe it would be a restaurant. So got into the restaurant. Very quickly after a few months, I was like, I don't want to own a restaurant. I don't. But I was like, this was the job that I had now. I put my nose to the grindstone, as they say. And I got like promoted to server within a couple months, and then to a manager within like a month or two after that. So I was like,
You managed at True Food?
Hourly managing, not like the salaried manager.
Like the key hourly?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Not at the one that we worked at together.
The one in LA.
But yeah, I was a manager at the one in LA. And it's because I was like, okay, I have to sit in this discomfort for a while. I know I don't want to be a host long term, but I have to do it. So I'm going to accept it. I'm going to trust the process, and I'm going to go with it. And so that's my first example of that. And restaurants didn't end up being the thing I want to do. But the beauty in working that restaurant job in LA was that it gave me the flexibility to explore the other things that I thought maybe I would do. And so now we can get into the really embarrassing stuff, because this is the time in my life where I was trying on a whole lot of different things, a whole lot of different potential careers. I think one thing about me is that I've always wanted to be seen, and I've always wanted to be performing, but I just didn't know how, because I wasn't a dancer. I wasn't an actor. I wasn't a singer. Even though I wanted to be all those things when I was little, I really wanted to be an actor or a singer. But I wanted to be recognized and seen and valued. And because of that, I was like, well, let me just be an influencer. Let me just start posting on Instagram. And like,
are those posts still up? Or did you...
I think I've deleted some of them, and then just changed the captions on some of them, because I was fully like pinning products and like being like, I don't know. It just like, yeah, even right now, I'm just like
pyramid
cringing.
scheme.
No, that was never something that particularly stuck out to me. Never did a pyramid scheme. I was more just like, I'm going to put myself out there and see if people like gravitate and relate. And so I put out like vlogs. I made a bunch of videos. I did like blog posts. Like these videos are so cringy to look back on, but I realized that, this isn't actually what I want to be doing, but I tried it, and that's what matters. I thought maybe I wanted to start my own sustainable clothing company. So I made a website, and I started looking into designs. I still have, or I probably threw it away, but I had like a notebook where I would sketch fashion designs. I have never once designed anything in my life. Like, I don't know who I thought I was, but needless to say, that did not stick. That was not actually something that like lit me up and that I was passionate about. So picture where I am at this time. I'm in LA working in a restaurant. What am I surrounded by? The entertainment industry, actors. Literally every person that works in a restaurant in LA is an actor. I'm like, I'm already halfway there. I might as well try acting. So I signed up for acting lessons, and I actually don't think I ended up going to the lesson, but I was fully like, I did like an acting masterclass online and was like, maybe this is what I need to do. The point is, I explored a lot of different things, and like knowing that people on social media saw me posting about, like people that still follow me and see me now, like they saw me posting all of these things about sustainability and fashion and things that I don't really align with or post about anymore. Sorry, I align with sustainability. That's not what I meant. But the things that I just like, I realized that's not my passion. That's not my career path. And I don't want to be an influencer posting about sustainability. But it's almost like embarrassing to think of like, oh, I did that and then I just stopped. Like that's like a failure, or that's whatever. And it's not. It was just an important step in the process. And I've seen people on TikTok, or my friend Hannah, who has a TikTok that is really great. She's talked about like cringe stuff before as well. And specifically posting on social media, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, if you're from my hometown, like, and you see this, no, you didn't. Like you didn't actually see this. Like, I don't want people I know to see this. But they're going to see it. Like you need to put these things out there, whether it's you're being an influencer or whatever you're putting out into the world, people are going to see it. And a lot of people are going to think, what is that person doing? Like like, oh, Kira's doing this now.
That's how I feel about when we first did the podcast. I'm thinking there's going to be people who look at this and say, that's weird. Like,
who do they think they are?
Yeah, like I went to high school with her. Like what? But whatever.
No, seriously. Like that's another thing is, yeah, putting something out into the world that people could judge you for. And some people might, most people probably won't care, but feeling like in yourself, like, I don't know about this, so I'm just not going to do it. It's just not a good enough reason. Be cringy.
Period. Yes. I am very impressed with you right now that you tried all these things, especially on social media, knowing how much of a perfectionism you are and how much, at least used to, other people's opinions mattered to you. At least you're better at it now, but I know they really affected you earlier. So I'm shocked that you were okay posting all these things and just going balls to the walls.
Yeah, I don't know. I think at the time, I just like I said, I have a different version of perfectionism than you. Yeah. I think like exploring my passions has never been something that I've like felt super strict on. But yes, definitely when I posted my first like blog post, I was like, I don't know how, this is going to go or whatever. But I got a lot of positive feedback. And I think because I got a lot of positive feedback.
Okay, keep going.
Yes, but I was super attached to that positive feedback. If I had gotten negative feedback, which I didn't, that might have, affected me. Yeah, but I didn't. And I just think it's super important to give yourself permission to explore new things, not worry about what other people think. Let that perfectionism go. Don't be afraid to be cringy. If you look back on something and you're like, wouldn't have done that today, like that's okay. That was a part of what got you to where you are today. And those are all the things that are gonna be impactful in developing who you are and who you want to be. Like looking back, I know I've sent you some old videos of Madhouse videos, like looking back at Madhouse 2 years ago was a different studio, or sorry, more like 2.5 years ago. Well, first of all, we started with the outdoor classes, and those outdoor videos of me barely, like I had just started teaching those classes. I'd never taught a dance class before in my life. I was just flying by the seat of my pants. I had no idea what was going on, but like I was just doing it. But looking back at those videos, I'm like, my God, like my facials, like my tongue was out the whole time dancing somehow. It was silent disco. So the videos that people would take, like you would just hear heavy breathing and no music, and me like trying to like cue and like half sing the song, like, my milkshake's pretty. Oh no. Sorry about that into the mic. That couldn't have been fun to listen to. But like the whole thing looking back on it's not fun for me to look back. I mean, it's funny now. It is funny. But I do feel a little bit embarrassed for that version of myself sometimes because I'm like, oh my gosh, who did you think you were? But it was so okay, exactly, and so important in getting Madhouse to where it was now. Like if I hadn't just started and done it, I would not have ever started Madhouse. I wouldn't have gotten the studio space. I wouldn't just
have to start somewhere.
Start somewhere. That's like, I cannot say that enough. And I know I said this in a previous episode. If you can do something, get it to 80% of the way there, it's good enough. Like put it out there. Don't wait for something to be perfect. Just do it because you've got to just get the momentum going and get the movement going and learn as you go. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. You're going to learn as you go. And yeah, I know I definitely did. Even once I got the studio, like doing Red Room for the first time, those old videos of what we used to call Red Room is like what we call the most mild stuff now. Like Madhouse has evolved so much and we do like, humping and twerking on the floor now and all that stuff. And it just wasn't, I did the most innocent burlesque dance and called it Red Room. And yeah, just the videos of me dancing back in the day. Exactly. It's just all to say, it's a very important part of development. Let yourself be cringy. Let yourself do the things that you want to do because you want to do them.
Perfectionism.
Let go of perfectionism. Oh. And do your best.
That's all you can do.
That's it. You're not perfect. That's it. All right. Any other closing thoughts, Kira?
You nailed it with those last few sentences.
Well, I do think this episode was mostly me talking and Kira listening because as we established, Kira's not really an embarrassing person.
I could listen to you talk all day, so I think it's okay.
Thanks for listening to me, Kira. And thank you guys. Really appreciate you just pretend you're sitting here at this table with us and yeah, let us know if there's anything else you want us to chat about. And we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks, friends. Have a good one.
Bye.